Many nations placed sanctions on Niger after the coup that toppled the country's democratic government. The European Union has imposed sanctions on Niger, which include asset freezes, travel bans, and limitations on funding for coup participants. Before this, Nigeria and the ECOWAS had already implemented sanctions. Nigeria had stopped importing Nigerian goods and had turned off power to Niger and Côte d'Ivoire. In addition, the World Bank stopped giving money to Niger, the United States stopped providing humanitarian aid, and France stopped working on development initiatives. Niger and the military dictatorship showed their ability to exercise authority in the face of international pressure by remaining firm in the face of these sanctions and reacting with their own prohibitions and penalties. They even made threats to scrap the plan to carry gas to Europe via the Trans-Saharan gas line. In October, the Niger government formally declared that all exports of cooking gas, also known as liquefied petroleum gas, would be immediately suspended until further notice. This development was reported by Reuters, which also highlighted Niger's emphasis on emphasizing domestic production to meet domestic demand. Authorities made it clear that companies might apply for permission to resume exporting in the event of a surplus. It is noteworthy that Nigeria, a neighboring country, is Niger's main destination for gas exports. In 2020, a memorandum of understanding for the import of petroleum products was signed by both countries. The lack of oil and gas for Niger's oil and gas industry was another point of emphasis in the report. The agreement was viewed as a major advancement when it was formalized in front of the respective ministers of state for petroleum from Nigeria and the Niger Republic. The minister from Nigeria said that both Niger's excess products and Nigeria's market need will benefit from this partnership, but the LPG supply had to stop because of the rising tensions and Nigeria's hostility to Niger. Nigeria is faced with a dilemma since it desperately needs LPG. Liquid petroleum gas is essential for automobiles, heating systems, and cooking. In Nigeria, its price has increased significantly from its former rate of 750 naira per kilogram to an astounding 1,000 naira. Prior to this, the Nigerian Association of Liquefied Petroleum Gas Marketers issued a warning over possible price hikes brought on by changes in foreign exchange rates and global market activity. Niger intends to use the extra LPG for a range of internal uses in reaction to the export ban. The Nigerian president's encouragement of ECO was to take military action and engage in Niger's domestic affairs is responsible for the decision to stop LPG exports to Nigeria. Tensions between Nigeria and Niger increased when the president asked the parliament for permission to invade Niger. As a reaction, Nigeria started to implement a strategic response by stopping the export of LPG to Nigeria. Nigeria shut off its electrical supplies to Niger as the situation worsened. Niger, which gets 70% of its electricity from Nigeria, was badly hit by this action, which also increased pressure on the nation's leaders. While a high-level delegation landed in Niger for negotiations, West African military chiefs met in Abuja, Nigeria's capital, to coordinate a coordinated reaction. Slightly more than a week had passed since the coup had rocked the already unstable country of Niger. The coup leaders were given a week to restore Niger's democratically elected president or risk possible military intervention by the leaders of the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS, who had imposed trade and financial sanctions on the country. The military is a last resort, but ECOWAS needs to be ready for it, according to Abdel Fattah Musa, Commissioner for Political Affairs, Peace and Security. To settle the problem, an ECOWAS group led by former Nigerian President Abdul Salami Abubakar held discussions in Niger. Nigeria, the current head of state, the chair of the Economic and Social Assembly of West Africa, and a major military and economic force in the continent, promised to take a strong stand against the rising number of coups in the region since 2020. Under junta control, Mali and Burkina Faso both threatened to declare war on each other if there was any military action in their neighbor. Russia sent out a severe warning, saying that any military action in Niger will result in a drawn-out conflict. ECOWAS issued this warning subsequent to disclosing its intentions to form a backup force. The Russian Foreign Ministry claims that the Sahel region would become unstable as a result of such an operation, while stressing that all options were on the table. Including the use of force as a last resort, ECOWAS continued to be open to diplomatic solutions. President Bola Tinubu of Nigeria mirrored this sentiment. The U.S. urged the co-op leaders to resign and allow Niger's democratic constitution to be restored, without specifically advocating military action. Prior to moving on, please show your support by liking, sharing, and subscribing to our channel if you think this video is interesting. That being stated, let's move forward. The Trans-Saharan gas pipeline is an essential project for Europe's energy security, and Niger has vowed to stop it. Conceived in the 1970s, the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline aimed to diversify Europe's energy sources and lessen its reliance on Russia for natural gas. A memorandum of understanding was signed in January 2002 by Algeria's national oil company and the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, which set the groundwork for the project. In September 2006, the technical and economic feasibility of the pipeline was established by a feasibility study carried out in association with Penspin Limited. Later, on February 20, 2009, NNPC and Sonatrach came to a consensus to proceed with the joint venture agreement and the draft Memorandum of Understanding, including 3 governments. On July 3, 2009, an intergovernmental agreement was signed by the Ministers of Energy from Nigeria, Niger, and Algeria, marking a key milestone. Given its location between Algeria and Nigeria, Niger played a critical role in this pipeline project. Should Niger refuse to take part, the pipeline project as a whole will fail. The scenario brought to light the geopolitical and economic dynamics at work and emphasized the precarious balance that must be struck between international alliances, regional stability, and energy security in the Sahel. The planned pipeline route begins in the Wari region of Nigeria, travels through Niger, and ends in Hazi Ourmel, Algeria. From there, it would link 2 already existing pipelines that serve Europe from Algeria's Mediterranean coast, including as Trans-Mediterranean, Maghreb Europe Gas, and Galsay, with portions totaling 1,370 kilometers in Nigeria, 841 kilometers in Nigeria, and 2,310 kilometers in Algeria. The TSGP is expected to cover a total distance of about 4,080 kilometers. With a diameter ranging from 48 to 56 inches, it is anticipated to have an annual capacity of up to 30 billion cubic meters of natural gas. The pipeline was originally projected to be operational by 2015, requiring an estimated $1 billion to build and an extra $3 billion for gas gathering centers. The Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Sonatrach, Algeria's national oil and gas company, and the Republic of Niger are supposed to work together on the pipeline's construction and operation. 90% of the shares were initially to be jointly owned by NNPC and Sonatrach, with 10% going to Niger. A number of foreign organizations have indicated interest in working with the project, including Italy's Inispi, France's Total SA, India's Gael, Russia's Gazprom, and Royal Dutch Shell. However, after the military takeover in Niger in July, the TSGP's future was called into question. This incident prompted ECOWAS to consider sending troops. The destiny of the pipeline enmeshed Europe, Nigeria, Algeria, and the ECOWAS, creating a precarious position. With its energy relations with Russia deteriorating, Europe looked to the TSGP as a necessary means of securing stable alternative energy supply. The pipeline project offered Europe a possible way to combat the continent's growing energy poverty. In the face of these obstacles, professionals have emphasized the value of nonviolent communication and comprehension. They stressed that any attempt to corner Nigeria may result in the project's complete failure and that the country's participation was essential to the pipeline's success. The scenario became more complicated because to the intervention of Mali and Burkina Faso, who were backing Niger in the event of an ICO. All parties involved in the Trans-Saharan gas pipeline must work together and exercise cautious diplomacy because its future is in jeopardy. The success of this huge project is closely tied to Nigeria's leadership in the region, Europe's pursuit of energy security, and the stability of the Sahel. What are your thoughts on this? Is this the appropriate course of action? Prohibiting the sale of cooking gas to Nigeria and posing a risk to the pipeline project's completion? Tell us in the comments below. Thank you for observing. Kindly enable notifications, like, and subscribe to the channel in order to be notified whenever we post a new video.